Good morning. My name is Vanessa and I will proceed to present the didactic unit that I have selected for this presentation. First of all, I'd like to request your permission to show the outline as well as the poster and the images that I will use on this presentation. May I? Thank you. The didactic unit that I have selected is Unit 6, When the Illness is in My Head. This is for GR3, for the second term, for the first and third week, and there is an average of 10 sessions. Regarding the students' profile, in my class there are 28 students. 2 of them are Brazilian, 1 Moroccan, and 1 Romanian, but they do not have any problem with the language as they have lived here since childhood. In my class, there is an interactive whiteboard that I will use on a daily basis. And regarding the materials that I will use for the attention to diversity, I would like to mention the extension activities for the fast finishers and some remedial activities for the slow learners and retakers. Well, from the title, you can guess what is this unit about. There is a primary topic that is health, but there is a secondary topic that is eating disorders. And there are 2 reasons why I choose this topic. The first one is that it is in the curriculum, it is a topic that interests my students nowadays, and it is part of the final task. But there is a secondary reason, much more personal. Well, I suffered from anorexia when I was in year 3, and from my experience, I can tell that this is not a disease that lasts for a period of time and then it disappears, but it has consequences. Lack of menstruation, osteoporosis, side problems, and what I want to tell my students is that perfection does not exist, otherwise this word would not make sense. And the final task of these units is creating a slideshow presentation with Geniali about an eating disorder. Geniali has been created by Andalusian teachers, and once this is done, they will have to narrate a real-life experience, having collected information about it before. Now, let's concentrate on the curricular elements in accordance with the National Decree 217 of 2022. As for the national stage aims, all of them will be taken into account in my units, although a national stage aim H and I will be taken into special consideration. For the key competencies, all of them will contribute to my units, although I'd like to highlight the competence in linguistic communication, the mathematical, scientific and technological competence, and the digital competence. First, the mathematical, scientific and technological competence, because in Unit 3, that is about recipes, they are going to use measures, quantities, and then in Unit 9, that it is about the climate change and also about the endangered species. Well, the digital competence, basically in these units, for example, as they are going to use Geniali, Plickers, or Padlets. And for the competence linguistic communication, it is thanks to the Google Classroom, the school library, and the multimedia room. As for the specific competence, I'd like to highlight specific competence number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for the evaluation criteria, I will select 2 or 3 per competence in order to create a balance. Then I will use some instruments of evaluation, but first of all, I'd like to tell you that I am going to use initial evaluation, continuous evaluation, and final evaluation. For the initial evaluation, I will use the diagnostic test and the portfolio. For the continuous evaluation, the Seneca diary, teacher's notebook, the observation, some rubrics, and the test. And for the final evaluation, the final task. Well, now let's focus on the development of the unit. Session 1. Session 1 is the first contact with the unit, so it's very important to catch the attention of the students. That's why I have chosen this video, because I want my students be familiar with the 3 most common eating disorders: anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. Then, when this is done, I'd like to put them in force by asking some questions about the video, because I'd like to know what is the level of my students, what they really know about this critical issue nowadays. The second aim of this unit, of this session, is that by the end of this class, they really know how they can help someone with an eating disorder. For example, they are going to say sentences like, I can organize activities which do not involve food. And the last part of this session is the introduction of the final task. Now, session 2. Well, do we know how people behave in front of food? Do we know how people with an eating disorder behave with their parents, with their friends, when they go to restaurants? So that's why I have chosen this text from the Family Consumerist Science, that is about the poor and unusual eating habits, and they are going to work on the text. And after that, as in session 1, we have seen the 3 most common eating disorders: anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. In this session, we are going to focus on new eating disorders, because today there are new eating disorders that they are trendy. For example, orthorexia. That's why I am going to show them several pictures, and they are going to identify the eating disorders. But I am not going to explain them what each one is about. They are going to select one, and they are going to find information about it and give a presentation explaining the rest of the class and explaining the teachers what is about, what this eating disorder is about. Well, session 3. Well, as I said in my introduction, suffering from an eating disorder is not just a disease, but there are some consequences. In my case, amenorrhea, osteoporosis, and side problems. but there are much more. This is why I am going to choose this video to show them how many consequences you can suffer after an eating disorder. Then they are going to choose one of the eating disorder, one of the consequences, and I am going to provide them with this web page. It's the National Health Service, and then they are going to choose one of the consequences. They are going to research on them, and they are going to suggest treatments. This vocabulary, they are going to suggest treatment to overcome these consequences, how they can solve these consequences. And they are going to create a picture analysis describing one of the consequences that they have chosen from this page. Now, session 4. Is really appearance really important for us nowadays? Do we judge people by their appearance? So that's why I have chosen this text from the New York Times, and the name is Yes, Appearance Matters, and it is about how we can judge people by their appearance. But also I have selected 2 pictures of Susan Boyle. Well, Susan Boyle was a woman who won Got Talent, and since then she has changed her appearance so much that today no one can recognize her. Therefore, I am going to discuss the topic to know what my students think about it. And they are going to research on it and write a report on the importance of appearance for different kind of people. For example, influencers, actors, musicians, business people, doctors, teachers, and once this is done, they are going to upload it to Google Classroom. Session 5. Session 5. Well, we are in the middle of the units, and just to remember that in session 1 they have known how they can help someone with an eating disorder. In session 3 they know how to suggest treatment to solve a condition that is the result of suffering from an eating disorder. And now in session 5, they are going to give advice to solve an image gap problem. So this session is about image gap problems. That's why I have selected a song by Christina Aguilera, Beautiful. And this song is about it. It's about low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and insecurities. So to suggest advice, they are going to use grammar shoots. But before listening to the song, we are going to talk about the topic. We are going to talk about what they really know about this vocabulary, about insecurities, low self-esteem, low self-confidence. After listening to the song and filling the gaps, I'm going to put them in force by discussing what is happening in the song, what is happening in the video. If they have ever experienced a situation like that, why the people in the video appear so sad. And then, as we are in the middle of the units, I think that we as teachers, we really need to know if we can continue or if we need to stop and revise some previous content. That's why we will do a Kahoots to revise some previous content. Well, session 6. It's true that students in year 3 they start meeting new people, they start smoking, they drink alcohol, or even some of them they take drugs. That's why I have selected this text from the New York Times, and the text is about smoking and body image. How there is a relationship between smoking and body image, because some of my students and some teenagers they think that if you stop smoking you gain weight, if you smoke you lose weight. How smoking can affect our body image, how smoking can affect our health. So they will have to work on the text and answer some questions on blinkers. Then, after discussing the topic, we are going to do a feature page about the importance of smoking and body image. And in the last part of the session, we are going to check the final task. Now, we are in session 7. Now we are reaching the end of the units, and it's very important to put in context all that we have learned through the units. I'm going to show my students a video about a situation at the doctor, and they are going to role-play a similar situation. Well, they are going to work in 4. One of them is going to be the patient with an eating disorder. Another student is the parents, then the friends and the doctor. The doctor is going to suggest treatments, friends is going to give help, and parents, they are going to give advice. And they are going to present the role-playing class, they are going to record it, and also they are going to upload it to Google Classroom. Now, session 8. Well, session 8. We are, up to session 7, we have been inputting, but now in session 8, we will go to the multimedia room. They will choose a graded readers, season and celebration, and they are going to work on the grammar that we have learned through the units about advice, suggestion, and possibility. And also they are going to work on the vocabulary that we have learned through the units. Well, session 9. Session 9 is the presentation of the final task. As I said, the final task is creating a slideshow presentation with genially about an eating disorder. And when this is done, they are going to narrate a real-life experience having collected information about it previously. In the final task, they are going to include several information. As we can see, the type of the eating disorders, the signs and symptoms, the causes, the treatment, and the health risks. The final task should have a similar presentation like that using Genially. Well, and then session 10. Session 10 is the final test. Well, although I have used continuous evaluation, I think that it's important for parents to have a tangible evidence, as well as for teachers to really know what's the level of our students, what they have learned through the units, what they really know about grammar, vocabulary. So I will use this test to revise and to check grammar, vocabulary, reading, and that's it. Then in this QR code and in this link, you will have the full version of my didactic units, the activities that I have designed for the unit in this QR code as well as in this link. Now I'd like to mention some of the references that I will use in the creation of my didactic units. First of all, the Council of Europe, the European Framework for Languages, CELSE Murcia and Match in Touch, Teaching English as a Second or Foreign Language, ELIS, Methodological Options in Teaching Language Materials, NUNAN, Practical English Usage, and Lanzats, Aprendizaje basado en proyectos. Now, to conclude, it goes without saying that we as teachers, we need to be chameleonic, we need to reinvent ourselves, and this is going to be such an essential unit for anyone interested in the topic of eating disorders. This is what paved the way for the journey to understand what is the process of suffering from an eating disorder. And what is special about it is that by the end of the unit, I am sure that my students, they are going to know at least what is an eating disorder about, what's undervalued this issue is nowadays, because some people say that suffering from an eating disorder is something that you choose, but of course it is not. In fact, there are some genetical factors, environmental issues. There is something in your brain that it is not working properly. And that's why I'd like to tell you that this should be treated as another illness, as well as cancer, as well as Alzheimer. Even suffering from an eating disorder has some genetical factors, and there is some similarities with suffering from Alzheimer. So thank you for your attention. Should you need any information, please do not hesitate to ask me. Thank you very much.